Chosen one, pay attention. There are seasons in your life when resistance suddenly multiplies. Not ordinary disagreement, not casual opposition, something heavier, something coordinated, pressure from directions you did not expect. Have you noticed it? People shifting, energy changing, attacks appearing the moment you begin stepping into your purpose. And many people misunderstand these moments. They believe the pressure means they are failing. They believe the conflict means they are weak. But that is not the truth. The truth is deeper. When divine authority begins awakening inside a human life, it disturbs the spiritual atmosphere around them. Light does that. Authority does that. Your presence begins exposing things that once hid comfortably in darkness. And darkness does not surrender quietly. It reacts, it resists, sometimes violently. But here is the mystery most people will never understand. When someone tries to challenge an authority that God Himself has placed on your life, heaven does not stay silent. God does not ignore it. There is a response, not random, not emotional, precise, measured, cosmic. Because when what heaven has appointed is mocked, attacked, or undermined, a spiritual law begins to move behind the scenes. Retribution, not revenge. Alignment, the correction of what was out of order. Have you ever noticed something strange? Someone tries to diminish you, and suddenly their life begins unraveling. They lose influence. They lose credibility. They lose peace. And you did nothing. You did not fight them. You did not expose them. You simply kept walking your path. Chosen one, this is not coincidence. It is a pattern that only those marked by divine authority experience. Today you will understand it, because there are 9 cosmic retributions God unleashes when your divine authority is challenged. 9 responses from heaven that most people never recognize. And by the time we reach the final one, something will become very clear. Some battles around your life were never yours to fight. Heaven was already handling them. First, understand this. The first retribution rarely arrives with thunder. It arrives with exposure, sudden exposure. Have you ever watched someone who secretly worked against you suddenly reveal themselves without meaning to? One moment they are smiling in your face. The next moment their words slip, their attitude shifts, their mask cracks. Chosen one, this is not an accident. This is what happens when divine authority begins to rise in a person. Darkness loses its ability to hide. You carry light now, and light does one thing better than anything else. It reveals. People who intended to quietly undermine you begin exposing themselves in front of others. Sometimes through careless words, sometimes through open hostility, sometimes through behavior that makes everyone else finally see what you sensed all along. Listen carefully. You are not crazy for noticing the shift. You are witnessing the first correction heaven releases. Because God will not allow His chosen vessel to remain surrounded by disguised opposition forever. At some point, the truth must surface. And when it does, it often happens in the most unexpected ways. A supporter suddenly spreads rumors. A friend contradicts themselves publicly. Someone who pretended loyalty suddenly shows jealousy they can no longer control. And you stand there watching it unfold, confused at first, but slowly realizing something powerful. You did not expose them. Your authority did. Your presence forced the hidden into the open. This is one of the earliest signs that your spiritual authority is real. Because when it rises, deception becomes uncomfortable. Darkness begins revealing itself. And those who tried to quietly challenge what God placed on your life accidentally announced their intentions to everyone around them. Chosen one, this moment may feel painful, but it is actually protection. Because you cannot walk into your destiny surrounded by people pretending to support you while secretly working against you. God clears the path, and exposure is the first sweep. But this is only the beginning, because once truth surfaces, heaven moves even deeper. Second, understand this carefully. When someone cannot challenge you alone, they gather others. Have you noticed that whispers begin circulating? Conversations start happening behind closed doors. Small circles form where your name becomes the topic. This is how manipulation works. It rarely moves through one voice. It moves through a network, through alliances built on jealousy, through agreements formed in shadows, through people bonding over shared resentment toward the light you carry. Listen carefully. When someone decides to challenge the authority God placed on your life, they rarely do it alone. They recruit, they gather listeners, they gather sympathizers, they gather people who are willing to believe the worst about you. Why? Because darkness seeks reinforcement. It needs numbers. It needs validation. It needs voices repeating the same narrative until it begins to sound like truth. But here's the problem they never anticipate. God does not just respond to the attack. He disrupts the structure behind the attack. And suddenly, something strange begins happening inside their circle. The unity begins to crack. Have you ever watched this happen? The same people who once whispered together begin arguing with each other. Accusations start flying. Trust begins collapsing. The person who started the attack suddenly finds their supporters drifting away. Why? Because alliances built on envy cannot survive divine pressure. Jealousy can gather people, but it cannot hold them together. Only truth can do that. And when God releases pressure on a network built on deception, the entire structure begins collapsing from the inside. Not because you confronted them, not because you defended yourself, but because heaven disrupted their agreement. Listen carefully, chosen one. This is one of the most fascinating moments in spiritual warfare. You remain quiet. You remain focused. You continue walking your assignment. Meanwhile, the very people who once unified against you begin exposing each other. Secrets surface. Loyalty disappears. The one who started the whisper campaign suddenly finds themselves standing alone. And those who once supported the attack begin distancing themselves. Why? Because when divine authority is challenged, God removes the false unity that empowered the attack in the first place. He breaks the circle. He dismantles the alliance. He causes the structure to collapse from within. And suddenly the narrative they tried to build about you begins dissolving. The voices become scattered. The whispers lose momentum. The coordinated pressure disappears. Chosen one, not everyone will understand this, but you will, because you have lived it. You have watched people who once stood shoulder to shoulder against you suddenly turn on each other. You have watched the group that criticized you begin unraveling without your involvement. And in that moment, something powerful becomes clear. You were never outnumbered. Heaven was always in the room. Remember this. When God protects your authority, He does not only shield you, He dismantles the systems that rise against you, one by one, layer by layer, until what once looked like an organized resistance becomes a scattered memory. But the unraveling does not stop there, because once their alliances collapse, something even more unsettling begins to happen. Third, understand this. After the exposure, after the alliances begin collapsing, something quieter begins to happen. Something slower, but far more unsettling. Their influence starts fading. Have you ever noticed this pattern? Someone who once spoke loudly against you suddenly becomes less visible. Their voice loses its weight. Their words lose their impact. The same people who once listened closely begin turning their attention elsewhere. Listen carefully. This is not coincidence. This is another cosmic response. Because when someone attempts to dishonor the authority God placed on your life, heaven does not only reveal their intentions, heaven also withdraws the favor that once sustained their influence. And when favor lifts, everything changes. You see, influence is not just personality. It is not just charisma. Influence is spiritual permission. And when that permission is removed, something strange begins happening. The room no longer responds the same way. The energy shifts, the applause fades, the attention disappears. Have you seen it? Someone who once commanded the room suddenly struggles to hold attention. Their voice becomes background noise. Their opinions lose power. People who once agreed with everything they said now respond with silence. Chosen one, this is not revenge. This is alignment. God does not need to destroy them. He simply removes the platform that allowed them to stand against what He appointed. And without that platform, the authority they thought they had begins dissolving, slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Invitations stop arriving. Doors stop opening. Their influence begins shrinking. Not overnight, but steadily. In the most fascinating part, many people cannot even explain why it is happening. They simply feel that something has changed. The same words no longer carry weight. The same presence no longer commands respect. Why? Because spiritual authority carries something the world cannot manufacture: favor. And when someone positions themselves against a life-carrying divine favor, the very atmosphere begins adjusting. The room recalibrates. The attention moves. The influence transfers. Listen carefully. While their platform fades, yours quietly grows. You may not even notice it at first, but people begin listening to you differently. Your words begin carrying unusual weight. Your presence begins shifting environments, not because you fought for recognition, but because authority naturally attracts attention when favor rests upon it. Only the chosen recognize this pattern, because they have watched it unfold again and again. Someone rises up to challenge them. For a moment, the conflict feels heavy, but then slowly, almost mysteriously, the voice that opposed them begins disappearing from relevance. Not dramatic, not explosive, just fading. And that quiet fading is one of the clearest signs that heaven has already ruled on the situation. Remember this: you do not need to silence your opposition. God knows how to quiet their influence. But what happens next becomes even more undeniable, because once influence begins fading, the plans they built against you begin falling apart completely. Fourth, understand this: after the exposure, after the alliances crack, after their influence begins fading, something even stranger begins happening. Their plans start malfunctioning. You noticed it. You saw someone carefully constructing something against you: a rumor, a narrative, a trap designed to damage your credibility. Everything looked organized, everything looked calculated, and for a moment, it seemed like it might work. But then something unexpected happened. The plan collapsed, not gradually, suddenly. Have you ever watched this unfold? Someone spreads a story meant to discredit you, and somehow the conversation shifts. People begin questioning them instead. The very accusation becomes evidence of your integrity. Listen carefully. This is not luck. This is divine disruption. When someone tries to undermine an authority that God established, heaven begins interfering with the architecture of their strategy. Their plans lose stability. Their timing collapses. Their calculations fail. It is like watching a machine suddenly malfunction. The gears stop aligning. The pieces refuse to cooperate. The very trap they built begins turning against them. Chosen one, you must understand something powerful here. The enemy depends on control. Control of narratives, control of perception, control of outcomes. But when divine authority is involved, that control disappears. God begins rearranging events. Conversations change direction. Witnesses appear unexpectedly. Truth surfaces at the exact moment deception tries to rise. And suddenly the plan that looked dangerous becomes powerless. Have you seen this happen? Someone attempts to embarrass you publicly, and the moment backfires. The room senses something is wrong. The energy shifts. People begin defending you without being asked. The trap dissolves, and the person who set it suddenly looks exposed. That is not coincidence. That is divine interference. Because when your authority comes from heaven, your protection also comes from heaven. Not everyone will understand this, but the chosen recognize it immediately. You have lived through moments where opposition looked organized, calculated, strategic, yet somehow every attempt kept failing. Every scheme kept misfiring. Every plan collapsed before reaching its target. Why? Because God does not simply shield you from attacks. He sabotages the attack itself. He interrupts the structure of darkness. He scrambles the plans designed to derail your assignment. Listen carefully. This is why you must not panic when people begin plotting against you. Do not rush to defend yourself. Do not abandon your calling. Stand firm. Continue walking your path. Because while they are busy constructing traps, heaven is already dismantling them. And the moment their plan collapses, something becomes visible to everyone watching. Your authority was never dependent on human approval. It was protected by divine order. But the unraveling does not stop there. Because once their strategies begin failing, the battle moves somewhere deeper, somewhere far more uncomfortable for them. Fifth, understand this. The battle begins moving inside them, not around you, inside them. And this is where the retribution becomes impossible to hide, because external collapse can be explained away. People can pretend a failed plan was bad luck. They can blame circumstances. They can shift the story. But internal turmoil cannot be hidden for long. Have you noticed it? Someone who once attacked you with confidence suddenly becomes restless, irritated, agitated by your very presence. You say nothing. You do nothing. Yet your existence disturbs them. Why? Listen carefully. Because when someone challenges an authority that God has placed on your life, their spirit knows something their ego refuses to admit. Their spirit recognizes the violation. Their spirit recognizes the order they tried to disrupt. And that recognition creates pressure inside them. Pressure that grows heavier with time. You have seen it. People who once spoke against you begin obsessing over you. They mention your name constantly. They monitor your movements. They react emotionally to things that have nothing to do with them. Why? Because your peace exposes their unrest. Your alignment exposes their conflict. Chosen one, understand this clearly. Your calm becomes uncomfortable to people who tried to fight what heaven assigned. Because every time they see you standing, every time they see you moving forward, every time they see you carrying peace after everything that happened, it reminds them of something they cannot escape. They fought the wrong battle. Not everyone will understand this, but the chosen recognize it instantly. You have watched people become strangely consumed by you, talking about you, criticizing you, studying you, watching everything you do, even when you have already moved on. And deep down you wondered, why are they still focused on me? This is why, because internal conflict is far more exhausting than external defeat. Their conscience is unsettled. Their spirit is restless. And the more you continue walking your assignment with peace, the louder that internal disturbance becomes. Listen carefully. Your peace is not weakness. Your silence is not passivity. Your calm is authority. Because the chosen do not need constant confrontation. Their alignment speaks louder than arguments ever could. And when someone positions themselves against that alignment, they begin fighting a battle inside themselves they cannot win. That tension grows, that unrest deepens, and slowly, it begins draining their strength. This is one of the most powerful reversals in spiritual warfare. The person who tried to disturb your life becomes disturbed themselves. The one who tried to break your peace loses their own, and you continue moving forward with clarity, with stability, with purpose. Remember this, your struggles were never random. Every moment prepared you to carry peace in the middle of conflict. That peace now becomes a mirror others cannot face. But the pressure building inside them is only part of the unraveling. Because once their inner world begins collapsing, something else begins happening around them. Doors begin closing, paths begin narrowing, momentum begins stopping. And that is when the next cosmic retribution appears. Sixth, understand this. The path ahead of them begins closing, not slowly, not gently, but unmistakably. Doors begin shutting, opportunities begin disappearing. Momentum suddenly stops. Have you ever watched someone who fought against your calling suddenly start hitting barrier after barrier? Plans collapse, meetings cancel, partnerships dissolve, projects stall. Everything they try to build begins encountering resistance. Listen carefully. This is not random failure. This is divine interruption. Because when someone positions themselves against a life carrying a sacred assignment, heaven begins restricting the ground beneath their feet. Not out of cruelty, out of order. God will not allow someone to freely advance while they are actively resisting something He established. So the road begins narrowing, the progress begins slowing, and eventually, movement stops. You may have seen this happen. Someone who once seemed unstoppable suddenly begins facing strange setbacks. Deals fall apart at the last moment. Support disappears unexpectedly. Doors that once opened easily now remain closed. Chosen one, understand what you are witnessing. God is not only protecting you, He is regulating the battlefield. He is placing limits around those who tried to oppose your assignment. Because when your authority comes from heaven, the territory around your destiny becomes guarded. Not everyone can move freely there. Only the chosen recognize this pattern. You have watched people attempt to advance while working against you, and somehow their progress kept collapsing. Again, and again, and again. At first you wondered why, but now you understand. God was slowing them down. God was interrupting their momentum. God was forcing a pause in their path. Because heaven does not allow rebellion against divine order to move forward indefinitely. Listen carefully. This is where the gravity of your journey becomes clear. Your life is not just another story. Your path carries spiritual consequence. Your assignment carries weight. And when someone tries to interfere with it, the universe itself begins adjusting. Barriers appear, walls rise, roads close, and suddenly the person who tried to undermine your authority finds themselves stuck, confused, frustrated, unable to understand why everything suddenly stopped working. Meanwhile, you keep moving, you keep growing, you keep advancing. Why? Because favor clears the path for the chosen, while resistance blocks the path of those who fight against divine order. Remember this, when God assigns authority to your life, He also controls the environment surrounding that authority. He can open doors, and He can close them. He can accelerate one path and completely halt another. And sometimes the clearest sign that heaven is protecting you is watching obstacles appear in the path of those who tried to oppose you. But the story does not end with barriers, because once their progress stops, something extraordinary begins happening around you. Protection rises, a shield forms, and suddenly you realize something that changes everything. Seventh, understand this. While resistance weakens around you, something else begins rising around you. Protection, not ordinary protection. Something deeper, something spiritual. Something you cannot see with your eyes, but you feel in the patterns of your life. Have you ever noticed this? Situations that should have destroyed you somehow dissolve. Accusations appear, but they collapse before taking hold. Conflicts rise, but somehow they resolve in your favor. Storms gather, yet you remain standing when the wind settles. Listen carefully. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is spiritual insulation. Because when divine authority settles on a life, heaven begins surrounding that life with a covering. Not a covering that removes warfare. No, the chosen are never exempt from warfare, but a covering that prevents the warfare from penetrating. The enemy can attack, but the attack cannot land. The enemy can accuse, but the accusation cannot stick. The enemy can scheme, but the scheme cannot reach your destiny. Chosen one, this is why your life has looked so unusual to others. You have faced situations that should have crushed you, situations that would have ended the journey of most people. Yet somehow, you remained standing. You felt the storm, you felt the pressure, but when it ended, you were still there, still moving, still growing, still walking your assignment. Have you wondered why the attacks never fully succeeded, why the damage never lasted, why the plans against you always collapsed before reaching the final blow? Because divine authority activates divine protection. The moment God places a mantle on your life, heaven begins guarding that mantle. Not everyone will understand this, but the chosen recognize the pattern immediately. You have watched people try to trap you. You have watched people attempt to stain your name. You have watched enemies prepare strategies meant to remove you. Yet somehow the situation reversed. Truth surfaced, support appeared, and the same moment meant to break you became a moment that strengthened you. Listen carefully. This is the difference between living with human approval and walking under divine assignment. Human approval is fragile. It disappears the moment criticism appears. But divine assignment carries protection, invisible, constant, unshakable. And the more your authority grows, the stronger that protection becomes. Not because you are perfect, but because the assignment must survive. Your life carries something larger than personal comfort. It carries purpose, and heaven defends purpose. That is why the storms around you never finish their work. They were allowed to test you, but never allowed to remove you. Remember this, you are not surviving by accident. You are standing because you were meant to stand. And while others struggle to understand why attacks against you keep failing, something else begins happening. People start noticing. Patterns become visible. Observers begin recognizing what you already feel inside. That something about your life is different, something protected, something appointed. And that realization leads to the next cosmic shift. Eighth, understand this. At some point, people start noticing, not the attack, not the rumors, not even the conflict. They begin noticing the pattern, the strange pattern surrounding your life. Have you seen this happen? People watch the pressure come against you. They watch the accusations surface. They watch the resistance rise. And then, something unexpected happens. You remain standing, again and again and again. Listen carefully. At first, they thought the attacks would finish you. They believed the narratives. They listened to the whispers. They assumed your journey would collapse like so many others. But something kept interrupting that outcome. The storm would rise, but you would still be there afterward. The opposition would grow louder, yet somehow your path kept moving forward. Chosen one, people begin noticing that. They start asking questions, quiet questions, uncomfortable questions. How are they still standing? Why do the attacks never finish them? Why does every attempt to remove them somehow fail? This is the moment when observation turns into realization, because opposition has an unintended consequence. It exposes authority. God often uses resistance as the stage where divine alignment becomes visible. The enemy thinks the pressure will weaken you, but the pressure reveals you. Every storm becomes evidence. Every attack becomes proof. Every failed attempt becomes another confirmation that something unusual surrounds your life. And slowly, the narrative begins shifting. The same people who once doubted you start speaking differently. They may not fully understand what they are seeing, but they can no longer deny the pattern. You begin hearing it in small conversations, in quiet remarks, in passing observations. There is something about them. They always come through stronger. No matter what happens, they remain standing. Listen carefully. This is the moment when recognition begins spreading, not because you demanded respect, not because you defended yourself, but because survival reveals alignment. You endured battles most people never could. You walked through rejection that would have broken others. You faced opposition designed to erase your voice. Yet here you are, still moving, still rising, still carrying the assignment placed on your life. Not everyone will understand this, but the chosen feel it instantly. Your survival became a message. Your endurance became evidence. Your peace inside chaos became a sign that heaven was involved in your journey. And when people start recognizing that pattern, something powerful begins happening. Respect quietly replaces doubt. Observation replaces criticism. Curiosity replaces resistance. They begin realizing something that once sounded impossible. You were never just another person walking through ordinary struggles. You were carrying authority. Authority placed on your life long before anyone noticed. Authority that storms could test, but never remove. And once that realization begins spreading, the final shift becomes inevitable. Because recognition prepares the ground for something even greater, something undeniable, something that changes the entire story. Ninth, understand this. The final retribution is not their downfall. It is your elevation. Listen carefully. Many people believe justice looks like the enemy collapsing. They wait for visible punishment. They wait for dramatic defeat. But heaven moves differently. The greatest response God releases is not destruction, it is vindication. Have you noticed this pattern? The same spaces where your authority was once questioned begin shifting. The same people who doubted your voice begin listening differently. The same environments that resisted your presence begin inviting it. Slowly, then suddenly. Chosen one, this is the moment when everything changes. Not because you fought harder, not because you defended yourself louder, but because truth eventually becomes undeniable. Divine authority does not argue for validation. It manifests. It grows. It expands until even the skeptics begin recognizing something they once tried to dismiss. Have you seen this before? A room that once ignored you suddenly quiets when you speak. People who once resisted you begin asking for your perspective. Situations that once excluded you begin seeking your presence. Why? Because heaven has already ruled on the matter. And when heaven vindicates a life, the conversation changes permanently. The authority they tried to challenge becomes the authority they must now acknowledge. Not everyone will understand this, but the chosen recognize the moment instantly. Because you feel something shift, clarity rises, peace deepens, confidence strengthens. Not arrogance, alignment. You realize something powerful. You were never fighting for recognition. You were walking toward manifestation. Every storm, every betrayal, every attempt to silence you was preparing the stage for this moment. The moment when what God placed on your life becomes impossible to deny. And suddenly the noise around you fades. Because truth no longer needs defense. It stands on its own. Chosen one, remember this. The greatest retribution heaven releases is the undeniable rise of the person darkness tried to bury. And that rise cannot be stopped. Now listen closely. There is something most people will never understand about divine authority. You were never meant to defend it through arguments. You were never meant to chase validation. You were never meant to exhaust yourself trying to prove who you are. Heaven already knows. And when someone challenges what heaven has established, a process begins that most people cannot see. Exposure, alliances collapsing, plans failing, influence fading, inner turmoil rising, barriers appearing, protection surrounding you, recognition spreading, and finally vindication. That is the order. That is the pattern. That is the system heaven activates when divine authority is challenged. So if strange opposition has been surrounding your life lately, do not panic, do not shrink, and above all, do not abandon your alignment trying to defend yourself. Stand firm, stay focused, keep walking the assignment placed on your life. Because when authority is truly divine, you do not chase justice. Justice begins chasing the situation. And sometimes the greatest victory requires only one thing: standing still, watching heaven respond. If this message spoke to your spirit, write the number 9 in the comments. Let the chosen find each other. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected. Because the journey you are walking was never ordinary. You were set apart. You were prepared. And whether the world understands it or not, your authority was written in heaven long before anyone tried to challenge it.